Hello. Thank you for coming together. To, I'm Cheryl Reagan. Today we're studying Whisper, Hearing God's Voice by Mike Batterson, and we're on day 13, chapter 6, part 2. We'll be starting with competitive streak to the end of the chapter. This is a fine line between the Thy kingdom come and my kingdom come. If we cross that line, God will withdraw His favor faster than we can say sin. In God's kingdom, if we do the right thing for the wrong reasons, we don't even get credit. It's all about motives, and the only right reason is God's glory. We're all driven too much by selfish ambition, but none of us has nearly enough godly ambition. You can't have too much ambition when it comes to the things of God. The language of desire is difficult to discern because we have mixed emotions, and our ability to deceive others is infinite. Although I believe that God uses emotion to guide us, it's easy to get derailed by emotion. Here are a few hard-learned lessons I've learned along the way. Think of them as caution signs. First, check your ego at the door. Second, if you want too much, you might want it for the wrong reasons. If you want something too much, it's often an indicator that you're not ready for it. Why? Because it's become an idol in your life. An idol is anything you desire more than God, and that includes God-given dreams and God-ordained callings. Third, emotion is a great servant, but a terrible master. Generally speaking, don't make decisions when you're in an emotional frenzy or funk. That's how you get tattoos in the wrong places. That's when you say things and do things you'll regret. And that's where the ninth fruit of the Spirit is so critical. Actually, I think self-control is listed last because it takes the longest to cultivate. As the emotional gatekeeper, it keeps the other emotions in check. Fourth, one key to discerning whether a desire is God-ordained is deciphering whether it waxes or wanes over time. Sometimes you have to sleep on it, or better yet, fast on it. Give it some time and see if the desire gets stronger or weaker. If you're delighting yourself in the Lord and that desire passes the test of time by waxing stronger, there is a greater likelihood it's a good thing and a God thing. And fifth, a little emotional intelligence goes a long way. According to science journalist Daniel Goleman, only 20% of the factors that lead to vocational success is related to intelligence quotient. The other 80% is related to emotional intelligence, which Goleman defines as the ability to identify, assess, and control one's emotions, the emotions of others, and that of groups. Again, emotion is a gift from God, and as we grow in a relationship with Him, so does our emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. They express themselves as empathy for others, and that often results in supernatural synchronicities. When I was in the 6th grade, I wore a neon pink Ocean Pacific shirt to school one day. Big mistake. I was pretty popular in junior high, and I was one of the biggest kids in my class. It didn't matter. I was teased mercilessly. Even my best friends betrayed me that day. Can you guess how many times I wore that shirt? Exactly once. Why? Because I didn't want to subject myself to that kind of ridicule ever again. The modus operandi in junior high is fitting in, and most of us give in to it for the rest of our lives. We become conformists at all costs, and the cost is a person's unique personality, individuality, and identity. You can call it peer pressure or groupthink, but the Bible calls it conformity. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's one of the hardest commands in Scripture because our culture is so good at conditioning us according to its values. Did you know that you're exposed to approximately 5,000 advertising messages every day? It doesn't seem like it, does it? That's evidence of how good our culture is at it, and we have to fight it. The word conformity is from the Greek word psychmatismo. It means to be patterned after or molded by, and it reminds me of the mold-a-rama machine at the Brookfield Zoo in Illinois that has been producing wax figures for more than 50 years now. If I remember right, the options included a pink seal, a green alligator, a brown bear, and a black gorilla. Not unlike those wax figures, most of us get pressed into a cultural world. The only way to break the mold is to put ourselves on the potter's wheel. Plus, we have to dare to be different. In the early years of the Head Start program, a study was conducted involving 1,600 children who were tested in a wide variety of categories, including divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is the ability to correctly answer a question that doesn't require creativity, just analytical intelligence. Divergent thinking is a very different animal. It's the ability to generate creative ideas by exploring possible solutions. In the longitudinal study conducted by Head Start, 98% of the children ages 3 to 5 scored in the genius category of divergent thinking. 5 years later, this number had plummeted to only 32%. 5 years later, it was down to 10%. One of the most thought-provoking questions in the gospel is this: what do you want me to do for you? In one sense, the question seems unnecessary because Jesus asked the question of a blind man. We can all guess his answer, right? He wants his sight, of course. So why does Jesus ask the question? The answer is simple. Jesus wants to know what we want. If Jesus were to ask the average person walking into the average church, what do you want me to do for you? I'd bet 9 out of 10 would have a hard time answering that question. Why? Because we're out of touch with what we really want. If you don't know what you want, how are you going to know when you get it? Maybe it's time to take inventory. What do you want God to do for you? You owe it to Him to answer that question. There is a fool in each of us, you know, a rash, brash, harebrained, audacious, impudent, ill-suited, spontaneous, impolic, daredevil fool, which in most of us was long ago hog-tied and locked in the basement. Jesus came to set captives free. In other words, He came to free the fool. And not just to free the fool, but use fools like you and me to shame the wise. Salvation is so much more than forgiveness for sin. Jesus wants us free from the psychological straitjacket we've gotten ourselves into. But we have to dare to be different. We have to walk in the beat of a different drum with holy desire. God has always been reassuring that my uniqueness was okay. And I believe He has used me in very special ways because of that. The Bible calls us a peculiar people. So why are we trying to be normal? If uniqueness is God's gift to us, then individuation is our gift back to Him. It starts with hearing and heeding the voice of desire. And when God's voice is the loudest voice in our lives, we can dare to be different. My thoughts on this. Personally, I really like this teaching. Need I say, I haven't always fit into many molds of other people, but I have been okay with that. In most instances, I think it has shielded me from hurtful situations because I had very close friends. I really like people, but I don't have to be in the same proximity to someone or willing to someone. I am always willing to help if need be. I also believe that because of my difference, God's also used me in very unique ways to speak to people from very unique situations of their own. So, if you feel like you fit into that category, you're not alone. As much as we don't want to feel like we've conformed. But we do need to be ourselves. We need to fulfill that holy desire that's within us to love and serve God. Leave your prayer requests, any comments, And please feel free to like and share. Thank you for coming together.